Beautiful. Okay, so one thing I get asked quite a lot as a fitter is, should I use a hybrid or should I use a long iron? So today, in amongst my normal general daily vlogging with Victoria and the baby, I'm going to go out into the garden and I'm going to try and explain a little bit of why you should use a hybrid over a long iron, or why you should use a long iron over a hybrid. And it comes about because people come in for fittings or gap testing, and we gap test their whole bag, and I see a pattern of 4, 5 and 6 constantly being so close together. And the reason for that is because the loft on the 4, 5 is so low that unless you've got the speed to be able to help you get the ball in the air, you're spending money on a club you don't need and can't use. And I mean that in the nicest possible way, because in order to get the ball out there, you need ball speed, spin and launch angle. That's how you get the ball out there. Now, if you've not got the speed to get the ball speed, then the little launch that you're getting and the little spin because of the loft is you're just losing distance. And that's where hybrids come into their own because of the MOI, which we've talked about previously, and their forgiveness and the fact that they've got so much mass behind them, it helps get the ball in the air. Are you spending £140 per club sometimes on a 4 and a 5, so £280? That's wasted because you could be using a hybrid. Now, it really annoys me when people buy or get sold 4 to pitching wedge, like it's the generic basic, you must buy 4 to pitching wedge. It's upselling. Now, some people, me for example, I've got great gapping with my 4, 5, 6 because I've got the speed to be able to help. I've had people in before with 3 irons and their swing speed is so low that it's going less distance than their 9 iron. It's just so annoying that people will sell you stuff to get the extra money in, and it's a bugbear of mine. Whereas with a fitting, a proper club fitter with a pro at Ashbury with me, wherever, we can order in you 6 to pitching wedge. So we fit with a 7 iron. Now, there's a lot of times people will say, oh, I won't go somewhere where you can only fit to 7 irons, because the only way around that is to go to Titleist and Ping or go to one of these specialist centres, because the expense to be able to, and I'm not even sure that you can even get it, the expense to be able to get like a 4, 7, a pitching wedge, all the different shafts for them, times 3 because of the different length, would be astronomical. And you would never ever make that back as a club fitter in a year. Just, it would never happen. The cost of that, and you've got to remember these heads are useless. Whereas with drivers and hybrids and things like that, you can sell them on because a demo head is effectively a club that you would buy and use anyway. Whereas the demo heads with irons are useless once that model's gone, completely pointless. But I can fit you in a 6 to pitching wedge, for example, and I would judge that on the speed of your deliveries and what you're delivering. And then once they've come in, I'd gap you, make sure the loft and lies are all correct and all that kind of thing. And then we'd see where the next gap is. Now, if that's a 5 iron, I can order in a 5 iron or a 4 iron separately. You don't have to buy them all at once. So you're better off getting fit 5 to pitching wedge, 6 to pitching wedge, wherever your fitter suggests, and allowing that to happen, and then get fit, and if need be, order a 5 in, or then go to a hybrid. So the options are there. You don't have to go 4 to pitching wedge all the time. Anyway, I've waffled on. I'm going to go outside and we're going to talk a little bit. I've only got my 2 iron in my hybrid because I've only got what I've got here. All my fitting stuff is at Ashbury. So there's a 2-degree difference. The 2 iron is 18, the hybrid is 20. But I just want to show you why a hybrid is good for people and why a long iron is good for people or bad for people. And I'll try and put my swing speed down to show you the differences. It's going to be difficult, but I'll try. So, Pumpkin, what pig-related products are we having today?
Bacon and sausages.
Oh, no.
Breakfast.
Oh, we're having a breakfast for lunch, are we?
Yeah.
So
Fancy a cooked at breakfast.
Bacon, beans.
Bacon, sausage, beans, tomatoes, poached egg, hash browns, black pudding, mushrooms.
Happy days. Right, so I'm going to start off with the hybrid. Now this is a 20-degree hybrid, so it's a 3 iron basically. And what I want to show you is how easy these are compared to hit them. So you've got all the weight at the back, It's full of MOI. And what we're going to do is I'm going to hit 10 shots with each. We're going to look at average distances and dispersion. The one thing I love about these is their ease of hitting. Now, with an iron, the drop-offs are so big, whereas with this, the drop-offs are a little bit less. So I didn't really catch that one, but it's carried 210 yards. The forgiveness is there, like ball speed of 137. Now I want to try and, if we try and pick that up to what I would normally hit this. Now hybrids are there for people who struggle to get the ball in the air, but they're not just for those sort of people. You know, you watch Will on Dan's channel, he's got a hybrid. I'm not quite sure on the loft, I think it's a low lofted one. So it's kind of like a 2-3 iron for him, but he uses a hybrid over a 2 iron. So it's not just for people who struggle to get the ball in the air, it's for anybody really. But the added bonus of these is that people who struggle to get distance from, it's like 6 iron up, these go up to like 27 degrees of loft, so they are there to help people. Now that was quite a good example of a good bad shot. Like that was right out the toe, it was an awful shot, but it's gone 209 yards. Whereas if that was an iron, it would have gone absolutely nowhere. Oh, hey Bear says. Come on over there. No, don't get mud on that. Come on over there. So yeah, hybrid. Oh look who's turned up. Right, I've got 3 more shots to hit with this hybrid. And I'm one of these people that I sometimes struggle with hybrid. And I don't know why it is. I just feel more confident with an iron. But I've got the speed to feel more confident with an iron. So I'm going to finish these last 3 shots off. Then we're going to move into the 2 iron. Now the good thing about hybrids is I hit that one quite fat, but it still went 207 yards because the forgiveness is there on the sole. If that had been an iron, the drop off would have been dramatic. Oh. Right, so that's 10 with the hybrid. We'll talk through the averages in a minute, but let's move to the 2 iron. Right, so now we move on to the 2 iron. Now this for me is comfort. I don't know why, I just love this club. I see a lot of, like, I really don't like stereotyping, but a lot of older gentlemen, they come in with like 2 irons and 1 irons from years gone by, and the loft on them, it just isn't helping them. Or something like a hybrid might. So I'm going to get 10 shots with this 2 iron and try and explain to you why these are good for some people and not good for others. One thing I'm noticing with this is a better consistency with club speed compared to the hybrid for me, which would insinuate I could probably need a different hybrid or a better combination. So that's 10 shots with a 2 iron. Right, now what I want to do is try and slow my swing speed down. Try and show the difference of what a hybrid can do with a slow swing speed as opposed to a 2 iron. So I'm going to try and hit these a little bit easier. Probably around about, oh God, what would I try and be around 70, 75 mile an hour club speed if I can. It's going to be quite difficult. Right, 81, let's try and keep that up. Just going to hit sort of 5 shots with it quickly. Right, try and do exactly the same thing with the 2 iron. So what's my target? About 80 mile an hour average if I can help it. So effectively we'll go and look at the numbers of them all in a minute. So effectively what I'm trying to show is the slower swing speed and why a hybrid could benefit over a 2 iron. Now I don't know the averages, I've not looked at them yet. And then what's the best club for me at my kind of swing speed? Is it hybrid or 2 iron? Now I know there's a difference in loft, so that has to be taken into account. And try and help you decide like whether hybrids are frowned upon. I think sometimes they can be frowned upon compared to irons. People want to have irons instead of hybrids, but in essence, you could be losing distance and spending money on irons that you don't need to spend, and you could be spending it on something that can improve your game. Oh yeah. Even the dog's getting a breakfast. Can't let boasting out, can we?
No.
Good chat. Good chat, babe. Well, that's my dinner. A few people have asked about Tommy the tortoise. He's still around. There he is. He's going to be around for about another 100 years. And obviously Drago is still there. There he is, just chilling. See what Nora's doing. Watching telly. There she is. You okay? You right watching telly there? You okay? Got the hiccups. Right then, so let's have a look at the numbers then. So the hybrid one is me at full speed, and you can see there my average ball speed is 138. My spin is at 3.6, which is pretty fine. I know, and I can accept that, with an average carry of 211. But what you'll see is the consistencies in the yardages. So like I got one out there at 225. If we just look at that on the club, if we just look at that club, I mean that was right out the centre. So that's going to give me the most efficiency at 1.38 that I can get for that club. And then if we look at that as the blue line there, it's probably the straightest shot and the longest shot. Now the dispersion with this hybrid is all over the place, as you can see there. It's and that's my problem with hybrids. They just don't work for me sometimes. Like if I need to get one out there, out the rough, this is a great club, but I really only use a hybrid out of the rough. If I'm on a fairway and I've got a distance, I'll use that 2-iron. So if we look at that, I mean my average, say, is 211. It's the consistency of a hybrid, why they are so good. You know, I've got ball speeds all the way from 129 up to 148, but the yardages are so consistent within themselves. The max is 220, the least is 195. All right, it's 225. But you look at the average shots, you've got 211, 207, 207, 209, 209, 210. I kind of know that 211 is about the average. I may catch one really well and it will go 225. But if I catch one badly, I'm only losing sort of 10 yards. Whereas if we look at the iron, for example, the reason I like this iron is because I can get it out there without the need, and that's because normally the spin is so much better. Now these have spanned quite high for what I would normally expect my 2-iron to do. Could be down to me. My attack angle was pretty neutral, so that's not helped. I've not been listening to myself. But average carry of 210, ball speed 136. So they are pretty similar, even though the lofts are different. But if we look at the range view of that, they're all going to the right, which is quite annoying because I normally have a draw. But I mean, it's difficult to judge when you're hitting into a net to like see where the ball's going, because there's no projection of it going either, so you're not making adjustments. But if we look at this shot, which is the bomb blue, that's perfect for me. Spin's possibly a little bit too high, but you look at the club view of that, it's a neutral, 0 attack down, a launch angle of 13, and that's gone that far, quite high in the face, so I'm hitting this quite high in the face. So for me, the differences between the iron and the hybrid are purely down to feel, down to what I feel comfortable with. They both work arguably exactly the same. It's down to my practice and what I feel comfortable with, because I've got speed to be able to utilise both of those clubs. Where now if we go up to the slow version, so if we look at the iron first, now I've tried to do these, if we look at the club, I've tried to get these as close as possible. Now, you know, it's difficult for me, I'm not a robot. So the hybrid is 2 miles an hour faster overall. But if you just look firstly at the club efficiency, 133 with the iron, 144 with the hybrid. The hybrid is getting the most out of the ball for the swing speed. We look at the ball data, there's 2 miles an hour difference in club head speed, but there's 12 miles an hour difference in ball speed. The ball will come off faster off a hybrid, at those kind of speeds, because that's what it's designed to do. The MOI is low, the centre of gravity is low, and it's designed to help get that ball up. The spin with that 2-iron is 1918. It is going nowhere. The speed isn't there to get that ball in the air, to get that ball spinning, to get that ball carrying. So there, the carry distance is 139. Now this is a prime example of people with slow swing speeds carrying 2 irons and 3 irons the same as their 8 and 9 irons, because they can't get the ball out there. Whereas if you look at the hybrid's going 168. It's nearly 30 yards longer for 2 miles an hour difference in club speed, because everything is helping you. The spin's at 3/8, the ball's getting in the air, the ball's carrying further, and the ball's coming off the club faster. So I hope that's helped you understand the difference between hybrids and long irons. For someone with speed, like sort of similar speed to me, we're talking kind of 100 mile an hour with both hybrid and the 2-iron, possibly going up to 107, 108. You know, I can swing it faster if I want to. Then the choices between hybrid and iron are purely down to you when it comes to feel, what you like the look of, what you like the sound of, what feels comfortable, and also what numbers you get. For me, there's not a lot in it between those two. That's why I interchange between the two of them, depending on the course. If it's a bouncy links course, the 2-iron will come out. If it's a plodgy, like Parkland course, the hybrid will come out, because it'll help me get out of that thick rough. It will help me get like the ball in the air and stop better on green. So it's all course dependent for me. But if you're someone of a slow swing speed, sort of 70, 80 miles an hour, hybrids are there to help you. Don't be a snob, that's the only way I can say it, and overlook them and think, well, I want a 4-iron, I hit my 4-iron really well. If you got down to the nitty gritty and got the numbers properly, you would probably see your 4, 5 and 6 are all carrying pretty similar distances. And I see it all the time when it comes to fittings. So if you're at that kind of swing speed, when you get fitted, speak to your fitter, talk to him about where your gaps are, look at the gap, take your whole bag with you. So although you may get fit with the irons with a 7-iron, a good fitter can kind of judge the gap in to your next club in your bag. And if that's like a 3 hybrid, we'll look at the distance that goes, and then you'll be able to be told, like, well, if your 7-iron's going, let's say your 7-iron goes 140 and your hybrid goes 165, you only need 1 club in that gap, which would be your 6-iron. Yet some people will go to the shop, buy off the shelf, or be talked into buying 4 to pitching wedge. That may not work. You may need 7 to gap wedge or 7 to sand wedge. That way, look at the gappings properly and don't just be sold on what seems normal, which is 4 to pitching wedge. Because any club, the clubs are normally sold in sets from 4, 5, 6 to pitching wedge. So if you order 6 to pitching wedge, most companies will allow you to order a 4 and a 5-iron if you need to. Get that choice retrospectively if that's what you've been advised. But don't go out and spend an extra 140, 280 pound on 2 irons that are just paperweights in your bag. Okay, hopefully you got something from that video. If you are someone who's got a slow swing speed, maybe changing tack to maybe looking at hybrids. Like I've said, they go from anywhere from like 16 degrees up to 27, probably even a little bit higher. And then you've got things like the Cleveland Launcher Turbo irons that are hybrid based. So there's options out there for everybody. It's just down to you and your fitter to find that correct combination for you, basically. Anyway, if you do like what you're seeing during this lockdown with my videos out in the garden, then please remember to drop a subscribe onto this channel. It's much appreciated. Please drop this video a like if you are liking it. It does help my video get pushed up, which helps me get more views and all that sort of algorithm rubbish. But that's going to be it. I'll see you tomorrow, and have a good weekend.